Hi there, today we're looking at a new disturbing missing person case within Texas. A 51-year-old mother known as Suzanne Simpson had gone missing in recent time, the husband being the one to have reported her missing. But it's not just that simple. From what witnesses heard before being reported missing, screams near the woodland, contact made with the mother of Suzanne and Suzanne herself before whatever happened to do with being physically hurt by the husband, known as Brad Simpson. It's not looking too good. Whilst they may be missing, searches have been ongoing to do with cadaver dogs, a local landfill. No results yielded, but it seems to be going across the theme of possibly already dead. But is it a true crime related missing person case or what? Today we're going to look closer at the official full timeline with the times in the correct order and learn as we go along. Take in mind, I will be doing a map analysis on this maybe in the next video, so make sure to stick around and let's get into it. Here we are. This website is by Express News. The title, Timeline, the search for Suzanne Simpson. You got a reward missing person poster there, last seen October 6th at 9 p.m. And there's the call phone number if you have any information. There we go. Susan Clark Simpson, 51 years of age, a real estate agent and married mother of 4, vanished from her Olmos Park home on the night of October 6. State and local police continue their investigation into her disappearance. So it's kind of a recent case, but enough time has passed by now in regards to a missing person. They say the first 24 hours or so are very critical. It's not looking too good, is it? But it says the missing woman's husband, Brad Chandler Simpson, 53 years of age, remains in custody at the Bexar County Jail on charges of unlawful restraint and assault causing bodily injury to a family member. His bail is $2 million. That seems really high, in comparison to previous cases I've looked at where other serious offences have happened. Here's what we know about the case so far. On the beginning, October 6, 2024, the Simpsons have a fight. And yes, I know it sounds a bit silly, the Simpsons. We're not talking about the cartoon show, we're talking about real life here. Brad and Suzanne Simpson attended a party at the Argyle, an exclusive members-only club in the 900 block of Patterson Avenue, about a mile from their Olmos Park home. Okay, so they're attending an exclusive party or so, get together. Does it involve any alcohol? Could that be the beginning factor of things escalating? You know what people can be like under the influence of alcohol. Could Brad have been drunk at some point onwards? Let's see. Between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., so quite late on, the last known sighting of Suzanne Simpson occurs when a neighbour who lives across the street hears an argument between two people. According to an arrest affidavit, the fight grows louder. The neighbour later looks out his window and sees Suzanne Simpson and Brad Simpson having a physical altercation outside their home in the 500 block of East Olmos Drive. The neighbour sees Suzanne Simpson trying to get away from her husband as he grabs her by the upper torso and tries to pull her down. It's not looking too good. There was a struggle for about 1 minute. The neighbour said it appeared Brad Simpson was trying to keep his wife from running away. The neighbour later grabbed a flashlight and went outside to look for the Simpsons before hearing 2 or 3 screams from a wooded, brushy area near the home. So, was it the case of Suzanne broke free, tried running away towards the woodland to hide, and Brad chased after her, and those screams were met with the death of her possibly? And the reason why she's not been found is because Brad has disposed of her. I do understand we're kind of jumping the gun here, but when you read it the way it is, it doesn't sound too good, because why else would she be screaming if she wasn't really screaming much before? But afterwards, something else must have happened. Now, why weren't there any other neighbours present, and why didn't they act quicker? I know everybody reacts differently at times, but if you see a person being attacked, wouldn't you try and do something, or maybe call the police? And That didn't seem to happen here. Between 11 p.m. and midnight, the same neighbour sees Brad Simpson's black GMC pickup leave the couple's home. According to the arrest outright, the truck returns an hour later. So where did Brad go and what was he doing with that truck? To dispose of her? To pass some time? I wonder. October 7th, 2024, Suzanne is reported missing. At 7:15 a.m, the last known signal or ping from Suzanne Simpson's cell phone is recorded in a business parking lot in Olmos Park, according to the arrest outright. That's interesting that. The last ping was at the business park. Well, what about the wooded area? Unless when Brad later, the day before, went out in his vehicle, he disposed of her and the phone, but then why would it be pinging at the park, the business one? 3 p.m, Brad Simpson receives a call notifying him that no one picked up the couple's youngest child, 5-year-old girl from school. According to the arrest outright, Suzanne Simpson usually picked up their daughter from school every day. And because that routine wasn't followed up again, clearly something was wrong. She wouldn't forget. Later, on October 7th, Brad Simpson reports that his wife is missing and that her cell phone can't be found, according to the arrest. Texas DPS Missing Persons Bulletin. There she is, Suzanne Clark Simpson. Case number, height 5'5". There's the date of birth, 1973. Eye colour hazel, race white. Last seen in Olmos Park. State missing from Texas. Case type other. Weight 140 pounds. Age 51 at the time of going missing. Hair colour brown. Gender female. Last seen on the 10th of the 7th, 2024. Missing from USA. Miscellaneous notes. It is unknown what Miss Simpson was last seen wearing. Anyone with additional information? There's a phone number there, an address. October 7th, 2024. Brad refuses to cooperate. So clearly Brad isn't that concerned, but he still reported her missing. But then again, whether you're guilty or not, it's normal to report someone missing. Is it normal for a guilty person, though, to report an individual missing? It could be a bit of a true crime crossover. Yeah, because you may be responsible for why they've gone missing, but if you didn't react or do anything, then you could be seen as more suspicious, like you don't care. So you do the normal thing, report them missing like how an innocent person would. But then to not want to cooperate after, past that point, it's like you don't want progression to be made. Why don't you want to cooperate? Is Brad hiding something because he knows what happened to her, whether he saw something or firsthand himself? That's what it seems to be. Olmos Park Police Chief Fidel Villegas tells the Texas Rangers that Brad Simpson was uncooperative with the investigation into his wife's disappearance and failed to appear for a follow-up interview. Texas Ranger learns that Brad Simpson has moved to his ranch property in Bandera County and appeared to be separating himself from his family, the arrest outright shows. Now, why does he want to separate himself, isolate himself further away? Is it because he's more comfortable over there? He needs to get away from what he's done? Is it about wherever he's living, he's closer to where he disposed of her? If it's based off that? Who knows? Brad Simpson's brother, Barton Tinsley Simpson, tells police that Brad called him and apologised for all the problems he had caused. Right. Brad called, apologising. But what were all those problems? Recent ones? Past problems? Could Brad be feeling a little bit guilty for what he's done and now is apologetic? October 8th, 2024, school alerts police. At 4:37 p.m, staff alerts Olmos Park Police that the Simpsons' 5-year-old daughter told school employees her parents had been fighting. The child told school officials that her dad hit her mom in the face and possibly pushed her mom into a wall, according to the arrest outright. The child also told school officials her mom had a bruise on her elbow and her dad had taken her mom's phone away. Sounds like a domestic situation and controlling, that maybe arguments broke out after that party they went to for some reason. If I don't know, could Suzanne have been hanging out with people at the party, just talking casually, and Brad, the husband, felt jealous or felt like she shouldn't be doing that and only talking to me, and then had a go at her afterwards, and that's how things escalated, with possible alcohol involved in between. And in terms of these injuries to Suzanne, I guess this is before she went missing, but how long does it date back to, and how often did it happen? Is it a true domestic situation? October 9th, 2024, Brad is arrested. Brad Simpson is arrested in Kendall County on a warrant charging him with unlawful restraint and assault causing bodily injury to a family member, both misdemeanor offences. His bail is set at $2 million. And there's a photo of him. And I mean, when you look at his face, I know he's got a bit of a still face, but I don't know, it looks like he's kind of like smirking in a way, doesn't seem too bothered by it. October 10th, 2024, officers discover Brad's guns. Brad Simpson is moved to the Bexar County Jail. Almas Park Police released the last known video surveillance image taken of Suzanne Simpson, which was recorded the night of her disappearance and shows her wearing a black knee-length party dress and heels. My question is, how come that wasn't mentioned in the missing person poster flyer? It said, the miscellaneous thing, it's unknown as to what she was wearing when going missing or just before. Well, it kind of gives a description here, so you get a rough idea. A family member tells law enforcement that Brad Simpson owned multiple firearms which he kept in a locked room in his home. Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives had obtained a warrant to search the Simpsons' home the day before. Interesting. I don't know if you can see it, but that is an image the police guy is holding up of Suzanne, and it does appear to be daytime, the lighting. And here is a close photo from CCTV footage. This is Suzanne Simpson. Black dress and wearing heels. She appears to be by herself in that shot. I don't know where Brad is. What do we have here? Is this the home? Quite a big building, to be fair. October 11th, 2024. ATF charges Brad. A search for Suzanne Simpson in a wooded area in Bourne, near where Brad Simpson was arrested, turns up no sign of her. I believe cadaver dogs were used. Brad Chandler Simpson faces federal felony charge for owning unregistered firearm. A family member surrendered his guns to authorities after he was arrested. Okay, got some more images there. That must be the search team going out looking. Did they have like snake guards around their shin to prevent being bit by snakes? Maybe. Oh wow, is this the firearm which was surrendered in? What would you call that? Is that an assault rifle or SMG? Seems like quite a tactical one with a short barrel, small magazine clip with a sight on and stock. October 13th, family holds vigil for Suzanne. Simpson's family thanks law enforcement, ask for prayers and vows to keep the search going until she is found. Suzanne Simpson's mother, Barbara Clark, tells reporters her daughter told her Brad Simpson hit her. There's the vigil, the photos. Is that the mother? So a lot of people gathering. Okay, October 14th, officers search East Side Landfill. I mentioned that a bit earlier on. A search for Suzanne Simpson's remains continues at East Side Landfill on FM 1516. Simpson family revealed that Almas Park Police relayed a message to them saying investigators believe there is a good chance of recovering Suzanne at the landfill. And up to now, no results have yielded. But you could understand the possible reasoning behind it, because if near to a wooded area you got screams by Suzanne, 3 of them, and then later you got Brad leaving the house in his GMC vehicle and then returning back an hour later, could he have spent an hour getting her body, to this landfill? I mean, there's been other missing person cases, true crime related, which have led to remains being found at a landfill. So it's worth acknowledging. That's what one of the photos is, like an aerial shot looking down at it. You got an excavator sieving through the trash And then I guess forensic teams, dressed up team. Up close, Texas Rangers. See how big those landfills are out there, team. Now, there's some areas of interest we can obviously do as a map analysis, so I'll have to create a project for that, whether we do separate events or all in one. October 16th, Brad's brother rebukes him. As a search at the landfill continues, Bart Simpson rebukes his brother Brad Simpson and says the family is cooperating with the investigation. October 17th, landfill search called off. After 4 days of scouring East Bexar County landfill for remains of missing San Antonio area real estate agent Suzanne Simpson, police have ended their search here. And that appears to be it for now as for this timeline. I believe even if you was to take away some of those key time frames and events, the simple fact that searches have been conducted at a landfill clearly indicates authorities believe that she's no longer alive. Granted, she is still a missing person, a missing body that needs to be found. Normally, when people do go missing who could be found alive later, they tend not to be hanging around landfills. Landfills are where you dump rubbish, take it yourself, and in other times, bin companies, trash trucks, whatever you call them in the US, will go to these sites, which may not be accessible to the general public. It depends which place, it varies. I mean, just to put things into perspective, I believe it was a year or two ago in Georgia where a mother neglected her child who was in the bath and drowned, and later she found out, and instead of calling emergency services, she ended up disposing of the child's body at a landfill. Now, I can't quite remember if she went to the landfill herself or she disposed of a child in a bin, and then the bin truck came along, took the trash and the person, and then disposed of it at the landfill, completely unknown. But searches were done and they found the skeletal remains at the landfill. It hasn't happened yet in this case, but you're unlikely to come across a missing person who's alive at a landfill. You get what I'm saying? A landfill where you can dispose of things, get rid, so they may never be found. Places you probably wouldn't think of searching, but in this case, there's been a reason to do so. I mean, what were the tips behind going there exactly? There must have been a level or a feeling or a finding somewhere in the background that made them choose that direction. I mean, the wooded area has supposedly already been searched and no results have yielded there. So it's about breaking it down bit by bit. I mean, would you have to trace it back to the party? Is there any links or factors there, like a backstory, which then led to an outburst and the argument back at the place of living? As said, map analysis on that quite possibly soon. But what I did find was the latest article more so focused on the landfill. We'll just read that now and see if there's any additional pieces of info. This article is by the same media group, so credit to them, Express News, and the title reads, "After landfill search for Suzanne Simpson, time not on investigator's side." So why is it a time issue? Are they still assuming that she's still somewhat alive? Here we go, caption. Bodies begin to decompose after 24 hours. After only a few days, internal organs start to dissipate and the body begins to bloat. Determining the cause of death only gets harder as time passes. I mean, let's just say Brad's got some firearms or a firearm. Not saying that it was used, but if it was, and her body was found later past that time, where it makes it harder to find a cause of death, it shouldn't be too hard. Let's say if a bullet hole was found in the person's skull or one of the bones, it was like a clear hole. So it is still possible, but as for other means of cause of death, it could be harder to prove or figure out when most of the body has deteriorated and broken down. And they say that occurs after 24 hours, and this is dating back to what, October 6th, October 7th, and right now it's enough days have passed by now. So to recently say that time's not on their side, I think that's already got past the point. But what other information do we have? Texas, okay, so this is a caption of the photo you see just above. A Texas Ranger works at the center of the pit whilst an excavator loads debris into a dump truck. Law enforcement personnel continue to search for evidence in the disappearance of real estate agent Suzanne Simpson at the Republic Services Testman Road landfill on Thursday, the final day of the search there. Okay, so time has passed by since for that, but we need to acknowledge it. We can always do a map analysis of that location. It's just good that, the names of the locations are clearly mentioned. It's easier to track. But I do think a map analysis will definitely help, measuring the distance, the possible timing from point A to point B. This article reads and says, days ago, police believed that missing San Antonio area realtor Suzanne body was in an east side landfill buried under a sea of garbage that feeds hundreds of grackles and circling vultures. Now they've moved on from that search site. I mean, were there any vultures, flies hanging about there at a point to indicate a body could be present? It says, but every hour that passes that her body isn't recovered, it further decays and the case grows more complicated. On Wednesday, local and state investigators expressed certainty that the body was at the landfill. Really? Certainty at the landfill. Wow, high level of confidence. But the Department of Public Safety abruptly announced on Thursday evening that they were stopping the search at the site, saying they had not found evidence there. Quite a setback. A source with knowledge of the investigation told San Antonio Express News police searched the landfill because GPS evidence led them there. GPS on what device? On a phone? Or what do you call it, like a black box? Some kind of device within a vehicle, like the GMC of Brad's? Did Brad at some point, such as on the night of her disappearance, end up driving to the landfill? But then again, even if he did, let's just say supposedly, would he have disposed of her body there? Or could he have disposed of other material, clothing, objects, items besides her body? Who knows? Okay. The last time Suzanne Simpson was last seen alive was October 6th, nighttime, when a neighbour saw her and her husband fighting outside their multi-million-dollar home. Wow, in one of San Antonio's ritziest neighbourhoods. What does ritziest mean? Rich? Brad Simpson, who isn't cooperating with police. The fact that he's not cooperating is a big red flag. He's facing domestic violence charges, which is another big red flag. Domestic violence, it can lead to a very bad outcome. And this could be an example. Illegally owning unregistered firearm. Is there any chance that a firearm was used in the disappearance of her in this case? I mean, there was no reports or witnesses of bullet shots, gun sounds, nothing like that. Brad Simpson's indictment hearing is scheduled for less than a month from now. During the full-day search at the landfill this past week, competitor rolled through a field of trash, the £123,000 machine with long, menacing steel spikes on its four wheels crushing a mountain of rotten food, diapers and more. Police and deputy cadets wearing hazmat suits sifted through the waste with rakes, searching the landfill for evidence or a corpse. By day's end, the waste would be sealed by a layer of dirt. They found nothing. Suzanne Simpson's body might still be there, and if it is, a compactor so critical to the daily operation of the Republic Services Tasman Road landfill and smaller heavy machinery roaming through the thick dust clouds through the garbage may well have crushed and torn her body into pieces. Oh no. That's not good, is it? I mean, if they knew that her body was still there ever since, shouldn't it have been handled more carefully instead of just recklessly going on in? Or is it just a case of there's not much you can do about it or avoid it? But if they themselves, these authority and equipment, have caused evidence to be destroyed, the main herself, that's really going to mess up the whole case, and it's going to make it almost impossible to find her. Her body could also be in a number of other places. There we go. And Suzanne Simpson's body could be in an advanced state of decomposition that could complicate her recovery and hurt the chances of prosecuting the case. I mean, do you think that she would have been disposed of in one place or multiple? Whether that be buried in one spot and then moved on later as a form of desecration, or being cut up into small pieces. I know that sounds a little bit extreme, but it is a possibility you acknowledge up to a point in time. What else do we have? Abel and Penna, managing director of Product Absences, a Lotus firm whose array of expert work with police and families to solve cold cases, said the debris in landfills complicates the search. In quotes, recovering a body in any environment is difficult, Pena said. This environment makes it much more challenging. Searched for 51-year-old last week in a wooded area and then moved to a patch of trees and brush near a Bourne Strip mall. Okay. Pena, 26-year FBI special agent who leads Project Absences, a team of retired federal law enforcement officers, attorneys and psychologists in trying to crack complex cold cases, say it's a fair assumption police have obtained electronic data from Brad Simpson's cell phone to determine where he was at certain points after she was last seen. That would obviously be very important, and noted that it's also possible they retrieved a black box from his 2019 GMC Sierra. That's what we needed to know. So based off either the phone pings, the data, or the vehicle, which was used later on in the night time as that neighbour recalled, where did he go? Was it the landfill, hence why a search was done over that way? That's possible. But if nothing has yielded results there, anything before that, any other locations possibly? If not, it would have to be the landfill then. And if they've not found anything, the only other reason could be because it's crushed, broken up the body, the bones, and it's a mess. Additionally, they might have a video of him taken from traffic and security cameras, Pena said. That'd be interesting to look at. It is footage. Still searching the giant landfill. 10 plus length of time Simpson has been missing and possibly dead. Possibly dead. I think they are pretty much dead at this point. Considering you're checking out a landfill of all places, yeah. Created serious problems for the investigators, prosecutors. In quotes, they seem to have a pretty good idea where to look, but pulling the stuff out of the landfill, that is not how you want your evidence to have been handled. Exactly. San Antonio Defense Attorney Joe Hulsher said, I mean, cases are compromised by people not properly refrigerating an item or failing to maintain chain of custody. We're talking about extracting evidence out of a garbage dump with God knows what in it because people do not responsibly recycle electronics or paint. So when there's additional trash there and unwarranted and foreign objects which shouldn't be there in the first place, when trying to find something else, which is the body, is a lot harder, needle in a haystack almost. There's all kinds of problems with contaminants, he added. You have to be really careful about the structural integrity of the site. Daniel Westcott, director at the Forensic Anthropology Research Facility at Texas State University, echoed other experts and saying that after almost 2 weeks, a human body would begin to bloat and both the organs and soft tissue would be in a state of decay with much of them gone. Process of the body turning into a skeleton would have started as well, but the state of what it would look like also would depend on how the body was handled, Westcott said. Texas State Facility that he oversees has a 26-acre outdoor human decomposition research laboratory at the university's Freeman Ranch, used by forensics. Okay, it's 25/8 trading. Okay. They learned to search for and recover human remains there. Anthropologists said multitude of elements impact the condition of a corpse. In quotes, it depends on how they're wrapped up. A million things that could cause that to affect whether or not they're going to see an intact body. If it was wrapped in something that protected the body from the machinery, so you think about it, if you wrapped it in a thick rug or something like that, it might help protect the body. True. Machinery at the landfill includes a Cat landfill compactor, but that isn't the only heavy machinery on site, where garbage covered by a fine blanket of brown dirt rises up a steep hill. Backhoes, which can weigh 17,600 to 24,000 pounds, constantly roll back and forth over the tons of garbage, one of them pushing the dirt. In just a day, a gridiron-sized field of garbage was covered up by a load of dirt, the earth flattened by the vehicles. In quotes, especially there, the condition of the body is going to be in not good shape, especially if she was being picked up or the machines or whatever used over there, Pena said. They could do a lot of damage, obviously. Well, if they can do a lot of damage, then they should be handled more appropriately then, right? Unless there's only so much you can do, because I guess if you are a race against time and you're at a landfill and there's so much to search and a lot of trash to sift through, by doing it really carefully and gently, obviously that's the right thing to do, but it's not time efficient. I guess it's a bit of a balancing act. It reads, even if she had been found at the landfill, Holscher saw openings for the defence in a trial. The evidence could be contaminated because the garbage is mixed up from various dumps. And while trainees save money, ideally trained and certified CSI personnel are needed at crime scenes. In quotes, they're probably going to destroy a lot of the evidence that an expert would use. It's not sounding good already, is it? It's like archaeology. The location where something is found also tells you something about your timeline, Holscher said, but then everything gets mixed up. Well, now you create a situation where nobody could argue that it happened on a different day, when the defendant might have had an alibi. If Simpson's body is found, even in a badly decomposed state, it's still possible for the medical examiner to rule she was the victim of a homicide, particularly if she was shot. And as we've heard, the husband did have a firearm, which he wasn't, allowed to have, or it wasn't registered or so. That doesn't mean things will be easy for prosecutors, though. Westcott said the absence of soft tissue will force investigators to be much more reliant on other factors to determine cause of death, but added evidence usually can be found. The thing is, there are lots of people with lots of specialities that work on these, and you can glean a lot of information about somebody from their remains, he said, stressing that authorities could crack the case. It sounds like they have quite a bit of information already. Bit of a positive. Finding Suzanne's body is critical, of course. The first 24 to 48 hours are extremely important in regards to a missing person case. I do agree, Pina said. In this case, I think they know who did it. They have him in jail. It's just locating her and finding the evidence of that crime, showing that maybe her skull was crushed or something, or she was choked out, or killed with a gun. Well, we've already heard of the theme of a firearm. That's a possibility. It had been a bit of a domestic situation previously, and she's been hurt by the husband, like her elbow bruised and arm and whatnot. What other injuries could she have sustained? And what about way back in the past? There must have been a time or a pattern of certain injuries and being hurt. They can determine the cause of death and move forwards from there, but it does become more problematic as time passes unless people come forwards, Pina said. It becomes cold. I mean, how many more people can come forwards? It was already limited in the first place as to who saw what and who was responsible. On the basis that this was a true crime-related missing person case, the fact that it was a missing person one in the first place, I guess links on with more resources being used and a bit more progress being made and more proactivity. When I look back at other true crime cases where a body was found in possibly an unusual place, such as on a highway like the Noah Presgrave case, how much progress has been made there since, after a year on? Not that much. But a lot more progress, in a way, has been made this time around with Suzanne Simpson, whether that be the found data, the vehicle black box. That type of evidence wasn't lost. It was retrieved successfully, which is a positive. The only, well, at least to my knowledge at this moment in time, the two main roadblocks and issues in this case are more so the possible person who could be responsible or knows something, the one who's been arrested, the husband, Brad Simpson, simply because he's not cooperating. Why does he not want to cooperate? Why did he apologise to his brother for all the issues he's caused? What has he done in the past? Does he feel guilty for something? Why did he isolate himself and live somewhere else in between before he was arrested? He wanted to clear his head, get away from it all. Does he regret what he might have done at some point? Does he at least regret how he physically harmed her before she went missing? Or it's just one of those mentalities, the way some people can be. It does make you think. So because he's not cooperating, that's a big red flag. You not want to cooperate indicates you might know something. Because if you didn't know anything, you would simply cooperate and say, I don't know anything, right? It's that simple. So it kind of comes across as if he's hiding something, which isn't a good sign. Interesting that witness, the night, October 6th of when it happened, went out with a torch, but before that, just stood around watching the husband grab her and kind of get physical. No attempt made to call the police. That does raise a few eyes, doesn't it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below there. The other second main obstacle roadblock is the landfill, where you might have pinpointed a key place where she could be, and there was a level of confidence, and from the GPS data, it points to there. Nothing's been found yet. But with the possibility of certain things being lost or destroyed, evidence of the body itself, that is very unfortunate if that was the case, because it seems to be with a lot of cases out there, true crime or not, evidence how it's been poorly handled, opportunities lost, lack of proactivity. In this case, the body itself, the main piece of evidence, if it is compromised, it's not going to help, and it's going to impact the justice if it's based off a true crime related case, possible homicide. So a lot of information to process in a short space of time, but hopefully this timeline was somewhat clear enough to understand. But don't worry, I can do a possible visual one where we look at places of interest next. So be sure to like, share this video to spread that awareness of this ongoing missing person case in Texas. And I'll see you next time with a key update. Be on the lookout for it. For now, goodbye and good night.